So first, I would like to talk on the importance of groundwater and surface water interaction in quality and quantity of water resources in semi-arid regions. Why we choose the semi-arid regions? This is the groundwater flow system. I would like to say that groundwater is very complicated situations where they connect to the surface waters, to the stream waters and some parts in the lake waters itself. So water, as you might know, cycling. So from that viewpoints, quantity and quality of the water cannot or would not be understood well or reasonably. This is a schematic diagram to show the interaction between the groundwater and surface water. Some cases, the groundwater discharging into the stream water or surface waters, and some cases, surface water itself recharging the groundwaters, directly and indirectly. So therefore, we need to know the interaction between those. Especially in the semi-arid or arid regions, we have to understand the recharge is very occurred, is low by a very specific conditions, such as low rainfall amount and low infiltration rate due to less vegetation and higher transpiration rate, and also characterized by the temporal and spatial heterogeneity in recharge. Recharge occurs at a very specific locations, and recharge occurs only by rainstorm with enough rainfall intensity. So groundwater recharge very specific regions and time scale. And the possible response to the groundwater to the climate change are that decrease of groundwater recharge may be caused by the high rainfall intensities, more frequency, and low infiltrations, leading surface runoff dominant, leading low percolation or low groundwater recharge. And also, we need to consider on the seawater intrusions due to a high or higher sea level, and change of residence time or turnover time of the water itself may be due to a low recharge, longer residence time, or longer renewable time, leading to a poor refreshment or water, then leading to a poor qualities itself. We need to consider on those situations. And of course, water cycling with mass. So water cycle in the catchment or watershed. With the waters, some constituents and isotopes, they are also recycling. We needed to both catch and detect the water quantification and qualifications as well, using the hydrometric observation techniques and some stable isotope tracing techniques as well. The important parameters to decide groundwater flow systems are source, where does the water come from, the path, where does water come through, and the time, how long does it take. Those parameters with climate, geology, and geomorphology and vegetation leading to or make water quality and quantities. We can say these are like a water CV. So to understand the water qualitical characteristics, we need to know those parameters to detect or decide how the groundwater and surface water flows or cycles. Thank you. So we have two topics here in Tunisia and Mongolia. Now, Tunisia is one of the most vulnerable areas to the climate change in the Mediterranean Sea regions. And depending on the groundwater resources, 75%, and surface water, 25% as average of Tunisia. And annual precipitation ranging from more than 500 millimeter per year in north and less than 100 millimeter per year in south. And characterized by the recharge by the reservoir water. So we performed some investigations in the northern part of Tunisia. just one point we'd like to focus on that. We performed a field survey in a watershed with dam and watershed without dam. We would like to make clear the effect of the dam or reservoir water to regulate the seawater intrusions as to the concentrations to the chloride here, the spatial distribution of chloride concentrations of the groundwaters here, and except for the stream, in the vicinity of the stream, the concentration of chloride in the groundwater is much lower in the dam watershed as compared with those of the non-dam watershed. Using the chloride concentrations and stable isotopic ratio of oxygenating, we calculated the contribution ratio of fresh water, surface water, and rainwater and saline water to the groundwater recharge. So it's very clear the surface water role or contributions to the groundwater recharge is very huge as compared with that non-dam watershed. Therefore, we conclude dam watershed due to direct or indirect recharge to the groundwater that have some regulations effect on the stock of the seawater or salinized water intrusions. Otherwise, on the other hand, non-dam watershed due to pumping rate and also non-surface water recharge, then the brackish water easy to come inland more. So we would like to say that such kind of surface water effect or reservoir water effect to the groundwater recharge should be considered in the discussion of water quantity or quality groundwaters, especially in the semi-arid regions. As to the Mongolia, we have, as Sarandria-san introduced, the UNESCO chairs on sustainable groundwater management in Mongolia performed since 2008 and until now. And those are more focusing on the monitoring, groundwater, hydrological observation, capacity building, and data set constructions, and so on. This is capital city of Ulaanbaatar city with a distance of 10 kilometers. Here, the two rivers flow through from the east to the west here. And those are the locations of the groundwater wells to produce the drinking water to the city of Ulaanbaatar. So those are the main water resources. The Ulaanbaatar city depending on 100% on the groundwater resources coming from mainly two rivers. The main question was how two river water may recharge the groundwater from the quantity and qualities here. This is a cross sections of the geological setting along the two river regions with gravels. We have thick gravel layers here with a depth of 30 or 40 meters. Then they install the borehole here, extract the waters to distribute the drinking water in the Ulaanbaatar cities. The qualitative spatial distribution in the Ulaanbaatar city area here. In the city areas, we have plotted the sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, chloride, bicarbonate, and sulfate or nitrate concentrations in the waters. In the city area, we have much higher concentrations as compared with those, the river waters chemistries plotted by red color regions. And also in the water source areas with boreholes here, relatively we have lower concentrations in the groundwaters affected by the stream. Then we estimated how much volumes coming from two river waters to the groundwater of the source water boreholes. The purple color shows the two river waters here. So mostly more than 60% of the groundwaters coming from or recharged from the two river waters here. So the two river waters, from the viewpoint of the quality and quantity, two river water is the most important to sustain the groundwater resource here in Ulaanbaatar city areas. Schematic diagram shows the two river recharge the groundwaters at the pumping wells regions. Then they use those waters to the drinking and industry and so on. So we need to consider on groundwater, surface waters, directions to understand well the quality and quantity in the groundwaters. And we plot or summarize the groundwater situations from the viewpoint of the quality and quantity in the parameters of the spatial scales, cloud scale to the watershed scale, and spatial and temporal variation, steady state here and unsteady state here. So to the calculation matrix flow processes until the rainfall runoff phenomena in the scale of the catchment. So we need to know those parameters or processes to conclude or discuss on the groundwater qualities well. As the conclusions, we would like to say the surface water is important as a source of the groundwater recharging, especially in the semi-arid or arid regions. And groundwater surface water cycle systems should be considered for the sustainable integrated water management in quality and quantities. And monitoring of groundwater should be conducted at certain locations considering those cycling processes. Otherwise, just monitor data does not produce any good information. And sustainable yield, safe yield, or boreholes in quality and quantity should be discussed based on the groundwater flow system. I would like to appreciate very much for UNESCO chair support to perform this research activities. So that's all for today. Thank you for your attention very much. So before going to the next presentation, if you have very quick one or two questions and comments, I would like to accept that. Or later on, we would like to have 5 or 10 minutes discussion time. Do you have any? Okay, so please.
I just have a very quick question. So, in terms of long-term sustainability of the groundwater,
yes,
you're always going to have to rely on the river, essentially on river flow. Is that right?
Well, depending on the site situations, for the warm, humid regions, for the longer time sustainability of the groundwater, we should more focus on the unsaturated phenomena within the soil percolation processes more. And for the warm, humid regions, for a longer time period. And short time or unsustainable or unsteady state condition, we need to know such kind of surface water's effect on the groundwater.